Well, so to introduce myself, I'm Maria Jose Presencia, Talent Acquisition Lead here at PepsiCo with an overall of 15 years of experience within recruitment. So a bit of housekeeping. The webinar will take an hour. As mentioned, will be recorded and you will be in mute mode during all sessions. We will be running a live Q&A at the end of the webinar, so please use the chat box to pop them in there. And if you miss anything, we will be sharing the recording when it's available. Regarding the agendas, we will start with an introduction of our leaders, our procurement leaders, followed by a poll, and then we'll move to a roundtable, followed by the Q&A that you will share. Having said this, it is a pleasure to introduce you to the leaders, and they will walk you through about their background. So let me introduce you to Sonia Diaz. She's the Procurement Excellence Digitalization Project Governance. We have also Christian Cerezo, Procurement Agro Assistant Analyst. And we have Tom, is our Flex Packaging Senior Director. So, Sonia, if you would like to start.
Yes, of course. Thank you, Maria, for the introduction. And first of all, I'm really excited to be here and to be able to share what we're doing in the different teams. So my name is Sonia Diaz. I'm working in procurement excellence, focusing in identifying how can we be more efficient in procurement through identifying new opportunities to improve processes and also implementing new digital solutions. I've been in PepsiCo for almost 5 years. I'm based in Barcelona. I'm originally from Colombia. I studied my master's in international management in the University of Reutlingen in Germany. And I actually started my career in procurement already with the first internship already some time ago, focused on transportation. So Christian, if you would like to now introduce yourself.
Okay, thank you, Sonia. I'm really excited to be here too. And my name is Christian Cerezo, and I've been working in PepsiCo for 3 years now in the agro department. I'm based in the north of Spain, in Burgos. It's not close to Barcelona, but it's also in Spain, in one of the PepsiCo snacks factories. I'm here in the factory now. And I'm an agronomy engineering, and in PepsiCo, I take care of the potato crops that produce the potatoes inside the Lay's and Ruffles bags. And also, I love new technologies. And last year, I studied a master's degree in agro-digitalization, and I'm lucky because I'm working in PepsiCo in several projects regarding digitalization. So I can apply what I learned in my master's degree. And now, Tom, if you want, you can continue.
Yeah, very good. Thanks, Christian. And hi, everyone. So my name is Tom van den Bergen. I'm Belgian, but living and working for a bit more than 10 years now in Switzerland, where we have our PepsiCo procurement HQ for Europe, for procurement in Europe. I graduated from university back in 1999, so quite a while ago, as a commercial engineer. I then started working as a consultant for a couple of years, joined a logistics company, and then decided to move to the other side of the table, joined PepsiCo in early 2008 to set up the logistics procurement practice back then. And then afterwards, I stepped in what we call indirect procurement. We will explain in a bit what this is about. And then since about 3 years, I'm heading up what we call the flexible packaging procurement team, which is our flexible films that we use for snacks, but also liquid cartons, for example, so the Tetra bricks, and any paper-based packaging. So that's a quick intro, and then like Sonia and Christian said, it's great to have you all in the session today. To see so many people who are interested in procurement. So welcome again.
Thank you, and a pleasure to have you with us. So, as we said before, like I've been into, like walking through the procurement function, and we would like to start with a poll, and like in order to introduce some of the topics that will be covered in the webinar. So we have a few questions that it will be you're gonna see in your screen. So if you can come. Okay, so what is the role of procurement? What do you think? Wow, 100% all the above. Okay. Percentages are changing.
I'm quite intrigued on what will be the majority saying in this question.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's changing. Okay, we have a few seconds left. And we have a bit of different answers.
Don't be shy, no? We're not able to see who answer.
Yes, please. 13 more.
I guess, Maria, most of the people have the answer right?
Mm-hmm. Okay,
So yeah, so sorry here if I can maybe say a couple of words. So the majority of the people, 62%, answered the question correctly. So the answer is clearly all of the above. And what we wanted to make sure you got from this question is that what we do in procurement is very diverse. So I see that 31% are responding, ensuring goods and services are available as needed. And that's of course the basic task for us as a procurement function. So we're buying goods and services so that our operations can work properly. But on top of that basic responsibility, we also play a major part in both the middle and the top part of the P&L. So in the middle part, what I mean with the middle part is the cost element. So procurement is there to drive cost savings, to make sure that the business can reinvest that money in new things, in new innovations. And procurement is also playing a part in that top part of the P&L, meaning the kind of the net revenue part. As we are the window to the outside world, and we are bringing innovation in. So if I look at packaging, then the sales are often kind of defined in an instance and triggered by the packaging. So if we bring some new packaging to the market, that often is driving sales as well.
Thank you. Interesting, Tom. Thank you. Okay, so moving to the second question. What is the share of cost of goods sold in the P&L of a typical FMCG company? What do you think? What would be the percentage? A few more to answer. Okay, we have 10 seconds left. A few more people that can answer.
Wow, more people than in the first one.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
The answers are a little bit
Okay.
better split between the potential answers.
So we have the answers now.
And here the right answer is, at least for PepsiCo, it's between 40 and 50%. So and that means, so if you look at the total value chain within PepsiCo, then you buy things, you make things, you move things, and then you sell things. And in each of these steps, you incur costs. And the cost that you incur with buying the raw materials, the goods and the services, is more than 40%. So as a procurement function, we consequently have a massive impact in the total P&L results of the company. So if you're interested in procurement and you are in the process of picking a company, my advice would be look at the part of the P&L that the procurement function is influencing. And if that's as big as in PepsiCo, then it's a very interesting team to be part of.
Thank you, Tom. And last but not least, we go to the last question, and goes like this: what is the category with the biggest spend in PepsiCo? What do you think? Potatoes, logistics, packaging, sweetness, raw milk, IT?
Well, on each option, at least.
It's not an easy one. Few more people to answer. We have 10 seconds left. You can give it a try. And Tom will explain the answer. Okay, so we're done.
So logistics got the most votes, but the right answer to this question is packaging. Now it's not an easy question because products like potatoes, logistics, packaging, we spend quite a bit of money on each of them, and they are all of equal importance. Sonia, would you mind sharing or clicking to the next slide just to give a little bit more background on this? And Maria, you can kind of take out the poll window.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so just to give a little bit more background on this. So in PepsiCo, within the global procurement team, we have a number of sub-teams, which we call directs, indirects, logistics, and then procurement excellence. And they all represent a very important part of our business. So if we start with directs, so directs procurement, these are typically all the materials that go into our end products, so into the products that we put on the shelf. And packaging is a very important one. We have a lot of other materials as well, so sweeteners, sugar. We use vegetable oils, seasonings or flavors, a number of other ingredients, and then a product portfolio that's very central to whatever we buy as a procurement team is agro. And that's a team that Christian is part of. So maybe Christian, you can explain a little bit more about agro.
Yes, I can give you more details about agro. For example, in agro, we purchase a lot of raw materials because 6 out of the 10 main raw materials used by PepsiCo come from agriculture. So that's why we need in agro an agro department, in PepsiCo an agro department. And I'm going to give you some numbers about agro in Europe. We have a farmers database with 2,400 growers. That's crop a surface equivalent to 76,000 football fields. So we have a big surface for our crops in Europe, and some numbers of what we purchase on annual basis: around 120,000 tons of oats, 100,000 tons of whole corn, 25,000 tons of tomatoes, cucumbers and peppers for gazpacho, and 1.6 3.6 million tons of potatoes, with a total spend of over $450 million. So it's a big amount of money. So it's an important department in procurement. And that's only a small snapshot of what we do and what we are in agro. So that's
yeah,
my
thanks, Christian. So that's what directs is about. Again, it's everything that goes into the products that you find on the shelf in the supermarket. Then you have indirects, which is the biggest, the second biggest team in procurement. And these are all the goods and services that we buy to make sure that our operations and that PepsiCo keeps on running. So there you have, for example, the equipment we use in our plants, the spare parts, facility services. You also have all kind of materials that we use to promote our sales, so point of sales material, promotional items, and you also have more general services like consultants or IT and telecom. So that's the second big team. The third big team is logistics. So that's a team that I started working in more than 10 years ago. And that team is buying transportation, warehousing services, just to make sure that our products are getting from our production plants to the customers. And then the last important team, and that's also the newest team, is the procurement excellence team, of which Sonia is part of.
Yes, perfect. Thanks, Tom. So in the procurement excellence team, as Tom mentioned, is quite new. So we started this year with this organization. We are divided in 3 main teams. The first one is what we call develop. The second one, deliver. And the third, sustain. So within develop, we're looking into how can we make procurement more efficient. So we look at which procurement processes can we improve, and we also look at what digital solutions can help us with this objective. The second team, which is delivery, is the day-to-day, so the support to procurement. And the third is sustain, which is looking at all the systems that we have in procurement to make sure that they work correctly. And this is in a summary what we do in procurement excellence.
Very good. Thanks, Sonia. Maria, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And well, so we're gonna move to the round table, and have like 3 questions that would be interesting for the audience, as well, to understand a bit more, like about procurement and what you do. So you have been defining and walking us through, like what is indirect, what is direct, but based on your experience, what do you think are the biggest difference when working in directs and directs, for example?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Maria. And directs, indirects, also logistics, they're all slightly different, but the base is of course the same. You select the best suppliers, but between directs and indirects, there are some differences. And more important, they give you some very complementary experiences. So what we try to promote within PepsiCo is as well that people experience kind of take responsibility for categories in each of the pillars. If we compare directs and indirects, indirects we tend to have a more limited number of bigger suppliers with whom we have been working for many years, while in indirects we tend to have many more suppliers, a very fragmented supplier base, high turnover as well of suppliers. In directs, we own the spend, so we are responsible for the spend, for the total cost. We're also responsible for any supply issues as a consequence. While in indirects, the spend is often owned by other functional departments. So if we talk about IT buying, then the indirect procurement team are helping the IT department to buy the right stuff for them. Indirects, we also tend to drive a lot of cost savings through what we call value engineering, which is rethinking what we buy. And those projects tend to have some relatively long lead times, while in indirects, those lead times are very much shorter. And we tend to drive a lot of productivity through often tactical biddings. And then last but not least, the skill set is that you develop within the two teams is also different because of everything I just said. So in directs, what is really important is how you manage your supplier, how you manage your risk, and how you manage your longer term projects. While in indirects, your ability to engage, to influence stakeholders is really important. You need to be very flexible, jump from one category to another, and you need to be a very good change manager.
Yeah, like very good, like thoughts and comparison between one and another one. And Tom, another question I have for you. So could you give an example how you are driving and delivering innovation in your category?
Yeah, innovation is important. I already mentioned it. It's the way we, as procurement, drive top line growth for the business. So I already gave the example on packaging. So I don't know if there are people from the UK on the call, but the moment we changed our packaging for sensations, sales went up significantly. And then, of course, whoever says packaging is also saying environmental impact. So today we're actively working with the commercial teams to redesign some of our packaging to make sure it is recyclable or compostable or biodegradable. So a lot of the innovation activities are happening today in the sustainability area.
It's key, sustainability, in everyone's agenda. And moving, like talking about creativity, Sonia, Christian, could you give, some examples of how you use creativity in your job? Because innovation is key, but creativity as well.
Yes, of course. So this is an interesting question because we tend to associate creativity process to a function such as marketing, for example. But let me give you an example of how we use creativity in procurement excellence. And this is quite embedded in the steps that we follow in our projects. So we have to do a research before, and then we have to make some ideas on how can we make this process change, or how can we use this digital solution. Then we do an assessment. So of course we want to see the cost and benefit comparison. And once we have that, we do a pilot. So it's also called in our terms prototype, in which we quickly test whether this is a good idea or not. And then we do an implementation. And when you look at the creativity process, like a general creativity process, you normally have the idea step, and then afterwards the implementation. So this is a really good example in terms of the process itself, but we also use it when we design the dashboards. So we use different analytical tools such as Power BI or Tableau, to make visualizations that can help the buyer quickly identify actionable insights. And in this case, we also need to make sure that there is a storytelling in place, that we can guide the users through the dashboards so they can get the knowledge required for their category. So I will say these are the two main examples that I can think of.
Okay. Christian, anything that you would like to add?
Yes, I fully agree with Sonia. We need to use creativity in all the roles in PepsiCo. And I have another example. I'm working in agro on a project called Crop Track, and in this project we are collecting a lot of agricultural data for big data analysis in whole Europe. And I was involved in the first steps of the project when we were developing the platform. And we needed a lot of creativity to create a standard solution for all the countries in Europe. We need to build a structure for the application that will fit for the agronomists, supplier and growers from Turkey and Russia to the Netherlands and UK. So we need to use a lot of creativity to create the structure and to avoid a huge workload for the persons responsible of data gathering. So it was really challenging, and I had to use all the creativity in my head.
Okay. So, and I think that like most of the audience also would be interested in like what do you like the most of working like in procurement I don't know, like Sonia or maybe Tom, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Sorry, I was reading the some of the questions are coming in, Maria. So you're asking for what we like in procurement, or?
Yeah, what do you like the most?
You want to go first, Sonia?
Yes. Yes. So for me, that was a difficult question to pick just one. But for me, I will have to say the diversity of the projects that you can be part of or that you can lead. So, for example, I can start my day into looking at digital solution on how to advance analytics in closures category or in other categories within packaging. And then I can be in another project which is more focusing on the crop track that Christian was mentioning, so on the digital solutions that they are implementing to track their crop. And then I can also be involved in sustainability agenda. So how can we, from from procurement excellence, how can we support that agenda, and how can we, support the company also to further on this agenda?
Yeah, and if I can build on that, what I like most about procurement is the fact that you interact with so many people. So when I kind of talk through the slide with the different categories, you can notice that we as a procurement function work together with any other department within PepsiCo. So we work with IT, finance, HR services, we work with the operations, we work with the sales team. So the number of internal stakeholders is enormous. And then as well, we are the window to the outside world. So you have kind of all these contacts outside of PepsiCo as well with your wider supplier base. So the human interaction and the fact that you can work with so many different people in so many different departments in and outside PepsiCo is for me the most rewarding one.
Thank you.
Maria, maybe before you jump to kind of your next question, should we have a quick look at Q&A? Sure. Because maybe I need to comment on some of the questions as well. So maybe the first one I'll take is the difference between supply chain and procurement. Which is it's really a good question, and it reminds me to a kind of similar question that I had when I started my career. So the way you can describe it is that procurement is part of the wider supply chain. So when we talk about supply chain, we talk from the whole value chain, from a kind of getting a product from a supplier or ordering a product from a supplier to kind of the moment that our products are hitting the shelf of a supermarket. And that total value chain or supply chain can then be broken down in pieces. And the first part is what we call the buy part. So the buying part, the procurement part. Then you get to the make part, is where we produce material in our factories. You then move those materials, so that's logistics, and then you sell them, or you have merchandising type of activities in store. So that's the whole value chain or the whole supply chain. And as procurement, we are only part of that. So we are the kind of the first step of the supply chain. So I hope that that clarifies. Then there is a question about the numbers. I think, Christian, these are the numbers that you called out. These are without any doubt European numbers.
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Only European numbers.
Yeah, so that's what we buy as a procurement team in Europe. And then there are a couple of packaging questions as well. So if I start with the sales went up in the UK first, I think I mentioned in the very beginning as well. So a consumer, we are a fast-moving consumer goods company. So that means that people tend to also decide in a blink of an eye, in a moment, whether or not they buy a product. So hence, packaging is an important decision factor for many consumers. So the more attractive you make your packaging to the consumer, to what's important for a consumer, the more chances that you have that the consumer will pick your products off the shelf. And that's something we saw with Sensations. We changed the packaging, and sales went up. And then what are you doing to make the packaging cost lower? So that's then the other side of the P&L. So there we tend to do a number of things. So first of all, we do tendering activities. So we ask for prices to multiple suppliers. And then we go through what we call strategic sourcing exercise. So we then pick the right supplier based on a number of preset criteria. That's not only price, but price is and remains an important element. Then what we're doing as well is what we're calling value engineering. So we're redesigning the materials that we're buying. So for example, we are reducing the amount of packaging that we use to put a product on shelf. So that's something that's also driving a lower cost. Or we make sure that people adhere to policies, and that's especially important in indirects. So if there's a travel policy, then we can reduce cost by making sure that people are following the policies. So there are a number of levers that we're using in procurement to drive costs down. What else? So maybe I do one more, and then we continue with your questions, Maria. What's the difference between departments in terms of countries? So I'm not 1% sure if I understand the question, but if I first talk about procurement, then we are part of a global procurement team. So the pillars that you saw, it's not just something for Europe. We have those same pillars across the world. And if you look beyond PepsiCo, then we tend to have the same organizational structure and the same departments in each of the countries. So that doesn't change too much from one country to another.
Okay, thank you. You can pop up more questions, put it on the box if you have. And well, I wanted to know, like Christian, on your side, in terms of your experience when you joined the largest FMCG companies in the world, how was it?
It was, and it is still amazing. And just to going deep on this, starting my career in PepsiCo when I finished my first master's degree was an amazing opportunity for me to open my mind and develop my professional career. For example, a month after joining the team, I was traveling to Russia for a team meeting with the rest of the European agro team. So it was an amazing opportunity for me. And there I had the opportunity to increase my network, or to be honest, to create my network. And I learned a lot from the experiences in other countries, because all the teams share different experiences during the season that they face during the season. And it was amazing for me. And during these 3 years in PepsiCo, I have had the chance to travel to other countries, and I found out that there are many ways to do the same things. For example, purchasing potatoes, there are too many ways to do it, establishing relationship with suppliers, and you can learn different things from the different countries and from the different colleagues. And I think this is helping me to grow in my professional and personal life, and this is thanks of PepsiCo. So this is your chance to feel the same, so don't miss this opportunity.
Thank you.
That's my words to the participants.
Thanks to hear it. And I think like related as well to like career path where they can get like within procurement. So for instance, Tom, any like thoughts that you could share regarding like how does a career development look like in procurement at PepsiCo?
So if you made up your mind that procurement is an area that is of interest, and it doesn't mean that if you start in procurement you need to stay in procurement. You can always kind of make side steps into other departments in PepsiCo as well. But then if you then took the decision to grow in a procurement team, then within PepsiCo you have two two possibilities. So there's an expert route and there's a more general route. So we have a number of areas that require a very specific expertise. And if you join PepsiCo, just using an example as an agronomist, then you have a big part of that population that really wants to grow and continue to grow in agro. And that's perfectly possible. And then you have another part of the population who wants to get different experiences from different categories. And that's also perfectly possible. So you can buy or start buying, I don't know, IT and telecom services in year one. And then after a stint of 2 years, you can then move into a packaging role. And then you can, after another 2 years, move into a logistics role in order to get all these different type of experiences, especially at lower level. And then when you grow and then to more senior positions, then you often stay a little bit longer in kind of an area of choice then.
Mm-hmm.
But very, very flexible career paths depending on what you would like to do.
And what would you say are the key future skills a procurement professional needs to succeed in his or her role?
Yeah, the world is changing, right? So the skill set is as well changing a little bit. So for kind of start roles, there are always a couple of things that we are looking for. So as a procurement person, you need to be at ease with numbers. So analytical skills are clearly important. You also need to have this commercial savviness, and you need to be able to build strong relationships with people, whether there's an inside of the company or outside the company with suppliers. And then if we now see how things are evolving, then there are a couple of skill sets that are really important. So the first one is to be market centric, to understand what the business wants, so to be able to build a close relationship again with senior business leaders. Digital is becoming more and more important, so that's why we established a team that Sonia is working on. So this digitally enabled is very important as well. And then last but not least, we live in a world that's changing a lot. So you need to be able to handle these changes and transformations in the best possible way. So to become really a change or a transformation agent is really important as well.
Mm-hmm. And Sonia, like this one on you, because Tom has mentioned in terms of like the technologies, like could you mention some examples of how you are implementing emerging technologies in procurement?
Yes, so there are a couple of examples I can give you in terms of robotics. So the applicability of robotics, one of example in procurement is chatbots, which is supporting the users in their process of buying goods and services. So those goods and services that Tom was mentioning, the chatbot can answer quickly questions to the user. So if they have a question on how the system works specifically for their product or service, or if they have a question on the process, they can just type the question and then they will quickly get the answer. So this is helping us also in speeding up that process of solving questions or, yeah. And then the other example I can think of is in terms of artificial intelligence. So we're doing projects around price prediction of commodities, and we're also looking into how this emerging technology can help us improve the spend classification. And this last one is still in pilot. So we're testing and looking at what is the value that this can give us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really interesting, like for you, Sonia, that your team is also, like quite new, and yeah, that's interesting to share, like in terms of like all the new technologies that procurement is getting. And for instance, like Christian, like what role does procurement play, for instance, in achieving, like PepsiCo sustainability goals, like because sustainability is like key for everyone, it's in the agenda of everyone. So what is procurement playing in that area?
So I'm not sure about general procurement. I can speak about agro, but from agro, we are doing a lot of things to achieve PepsiCo sustainability goals. We are trying to produce more raw material, more potatoes, more corn, more peanuts, more oats, with the same or less inputs. So that's the one of the principles of sustainability. And for example, in Spain, we are sending an irrigation advice to all our growers based on the crop water consumption. And we are calculating using weather forecast the needs of the crops, and we are advising our grower how much water they should apply to their crops. So we are trying to save water in our crops of potatoes. And just as an example, we improve what we call the optimum range of irrigation from the 48% to over 90% in 3 years in Spain. So I think it's a succeed project, and also we are using technology to achieve these goals. So I think it's a good example.
Thank you, Tom. Anything to build, for instance, I don't know, like in packaging, sustainability?
Yeah, like I said, so procurement in a way is in a very unique position because we work with the external world. So we are in all departments, I think, continuously scouting for new solutions that are helping us to achieve sustainability goals. So if I then talk about packaging, and there were some questions about it on the chat or in the Q&A as well. So our overarching goal is to make sure that our packaging is either recyclable, compostable, or biodegradable, and so we are working against each of these goals. By, for example, making sure that the film that we use for our snacks products is recyclable. If I look at our beverage portfolio, then we are working on solutions to change some of the foil that we're putting around the multi-packs into cartons. So there is on the packaging front really a lot going on to make sure that in a number of years, all our packaging that we are putting on the market is either recyclable, compostable, or biodegradable.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. And Ritas, how is the climate change impacting, how we purchase packaging, potatoes, and what are we doing to prepare for the future? And especially, in this situation, COVID, how is the impact of the purchase?
Can I go first, Tom? Or?
Yeah, sure.
For example, in agro, we are suffering climate change as all the agribusiness companies are suffering, or the agribusiness are suffering it. What I see from my personal and professional life is that we are facing more extreme weather issues across Spain, and I assuming that in other countries they are facing the same issues. And we are taking from PepsiCo, and also in my personal life, I'm taking a lot of initiatives trying to decrease this impact, this climate change. And I think that we need, as individual or as companies, we need to fight all together against climate change, and it's a battle that we all have to fight. So we need more initiatives, we need more technology to fight this climate change. So I think it's quite important to reduce it.
Yeah, I think we're taking this very seriously, and I think we have a whole sustainability team that we as a procurement function are supporting as well to achieve our overall sustainability goals, and climate change is part of it. So for any projects, we look at the kind of the carbon footprint. So it's not only price that's important, but there are different elements that come into play as well before we select a supplier, including sustainability factors. And then we are actively taking some very bold decisions as well. So in North America, for example, we use 1% renewable energy. We're doing the same in already 9 of our European countries, and we will be increasing further in Europe as well, and also in packaging. sustainability and the carbon footprint is a very important factor when we take sourcing decisions.
Thank you. I will have a last question, but maybe like we can go to the questions from the audience. There's one, Tom. Like in terms of like mentioned, does innovation in procurement always refers to cost saving?
No. So that's what I explained before. So we, of course, we have cost saving targets, and we try to reduce our cost base to the maximum extent. But at the same time, we're also bringing new solutions to market, which often cost more than the actual ones, but which enable us to drive sales. So it's a mix.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you. And from my side, I will have, last question. So, for instance, Tom, what would you say that are your biggest challenges with your suppliers and internal stakeholders?
Yeah, so maybe first of all, it was also a question that came in. We had a pretty special year, so we are impacted quite significantly with COVID as well. So the biggest challenge this year was definitely around COVID. We had to make sure that supply continued. And in a number of categories, we saw significant uplifts. So we had to buy significantly more materials than we planned for. So then we were facing some supplier plant closures, so sites that just closed from one day to another, and then we had to redirect to other suppliers. So especially the period between March and June, July time was very challenging for us as a procurement function. Due to the very special situation. If you look more in general terms, then I think the most challenging is sometimes a very healthy tension between some of the departments. So as a procurement function, we try to reduce costs, or we have ideas to reduce costs. The commercial team sometimes have different opinions. Then R&D, so our research and development team, has other opinions as well. We need to make sure that whatever we buy can move through the supply chain. So supply chain has a different opinion as well. And bringing all these opinions together and finding the sweet spot between the best price, what works throughout the supply chain, and what's needed from a commercial point of view, it's probably the most challenging part.
I would also like to add an example. So when talking about COVID in the indirects as well. So, and not only the impact, but also looking into how procurement has contributed, to kind of, move from that phase. So from indirects, together with the make team, we had to look for digital solutions where we could look for new suppliers that can provide us more masks and sanitizers to make sure that our colleagues in the plants were safe when going to work.
Yeah, that was a big effort from the indirects team. Not easy, but I think you've been able to do a fantastic job.
Yes.
Thank you, Sonia. I saw another question from the audience mentioning that is there any specific background needed to join procurement? What would you say? I think you have like different ones between the three of you. What would be your advice?
Yeah, we look, of course, at profiles, and what I said a while ago as well. You look for some characteristics. So this commercial savviness, this being analytical, being able to develop good relationships with stakeholders inside and outside the company. These are things that we are looking for new starters in procurement. So And my personal opinion is that these type of characteristics are often much more important than just the kind of whatever you have studied. Now, in some cases, it can be different. So, Christian, I think in agro, you probably are looking for some very specific profiles for some roles.
Yeah, for some of them, it's quite important to have an agronomy background. But for example, in agro, is as you said, Tom, it's just really, really important to have a good social skills. So you need to establish a good relationship with growers and suppliers, because we have been working with some suppliers in Spain, for example, for more than 30 years. So it's a really long relationship, and you need to have some skills to maintain it.
Mm.
And I think that's characteristic to establish and maintain relationships with other people is quite important in procurement.
And also from the point of view of procurement excellence. So for example, in our team, we have a data scientist intern, and we also have different profiles in the team, which have to deal with, well, they have to have project management skills, and they also need to adapt quickly to changes. And I think a really important skill is the attitude that you have and curiosity for learning. So being curious about learning more and also self-learning.
Thank you.
And then maybe, Maria, there is an interesting question as well about maintaining procurement quality across the globe. So let me give or try to give an answer to that question as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about procurement within PepsiCo, we are referring to GP, and GP stands for global procurement. So we are a truly global team, and we have policies and practices that are applied in all parts of the world. So me as well, in my current role, I'm part of the European procurement team, but I also have a reporting line into the global packaging procurement team. And within that team, we meet on a regular basis. We make sure that whatever we do in Europe is aligned with kind of whatever we are doing in the rest of the world, and we don't try to do just our own thing in Europe. So we try to discuss things with our supplier base as well on a global level, wherever that makes sense. Like I said, policies and practices are set on a global level, and we also have a global procurement university where kind of the way that you need to go through a strategic sourcing process is explained, just to make sure that we do things in a very similar way across the globe in each of our categories.
Thank you, Tom. I think we don't have any more questions.
There is one, Maria, regarding the crop tracking.
Oh yeah, mm-hmm. Go for it.
I think I can answer this one.
Of course.
This is a quite challenge, because we need to work together with the farmers and the suppliers to collect all the data, and sometimes it's not easy to make them understand that the data collection in agro is beneficial for all of us, not just for PepsiCo. They think that we will use this data against them, and we will use this data with them to improve the process. So we are measuring data because maybe Sonia can build on that more, but we use data to improve processes. So we are collecting data in agro. We are trying to use big data analytics to improve the processes, and let's say, not only for cost savings, as Tom mentioned, just also for sustainability. We want to reduce water usage. We are using also prediction models to prevent some diseases in the potatoes. And if we treat the potatoes in a preventive way, we will use less agrochemicals. So this is a sustainable practice, and it's not a cost-saving practice. And that's how we are trying to make them understand that we are collecting data for all of us, not just for PepsiCo. And that's the challenge.
So, no, Christian, with the reduction of water usage. And now we're working on the prediction part. So in building models that can help us make
predictions. Yeah, and we developed with one university in the Netherlands. We developed this year a prediction model based on weather data to predict a disease in potato. It's called blight, and it's a disease that can destroy a crop in just a couple of weeks. And if we prevent it, we can treat the potatoes in a preventive way and avoid these issues.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. I think we don't have any more questions. Anything that you would like to add? Tom, Christian, Sonia?
Maybe just, I'm still looking at the Q&A, and there's a question as well about a number of boxes that we're buying, and so it's a bit difficult to call out numbers. But what is clearly true is that PepsiCo is a big company. So we are next to Nestlé. I think that's the second food and beverage company in the world. So a consequence of that is that a lot of suppliers are interested to work with PepsiCo, and we also tend to have, and for a procurement professional, that's always nice to be in that position. We tend to have a kind of a good negotiation position towards our suppliers. So not calling out any numbers, but we tend to be a very important customer for most of the suppliers. And then, yeah, maybe to close out from my point of view, I think we are all very enthusiastic to work in procurement. For me, when I graduated, I didn't think of procurement as an immediate career choice. So, like I said, I started as a consultant, then did a lot of different roles in a logistics company, and these things are always happening a bit by accident, but I stepped into a procurement role due to a kind of for a number of reasons, due to circumstances, but since then I loved every minute of it. So it's a very dynamic function that allows you to work really on the short and the long term. On some very strategic initiatives, and like I said, you're working with every single department within a company, and you are providing to that company the window to the outside world. So there's a lot of very interesting things that, as a procurement professional, you are able to work on. So that would be my summary and my experience. Sonia, Christian, anything to add to close out?
Yeah, so what I would like to add is, I mean, if you're passionate about technology and you want to, your career to be focused on technology, I really encourage you to look at procurement excellence as an option, because the challenge in our function, and also what is rewarding, is that almost everything that we're trying is new. So when you look at emerging technologies applicability, you see it quite often in sales and in marketing, but in procurement we have few cases. And if you're looking for a challenge, this can be a really great opportunity to make an impact from the day one that you start.
I would like to add that I was in your position 3 years ago, so don't miss this opportunity and try it at least. Working in PepsiCo is an amazing opportunity, and I like, as Tom said, every minute since I joined PepsiCo.
Thank you again to everyone, and well, we encourage all of you, to apply, to look at the opportunities that are within procurement, that are there to do more challenge. So you have like a few more weeks to apply, to upload your profile, your business case. So yeah, go for it, and I'm sure that you will have fun, during the program. So thank you very much to all of you for your time today, and this is going to be, it has been recorded. We will share it with you, and feel free to ask any question that you might have after the recording, if there is anything pending. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Maria.
bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.